What's up guys and welcome back to On The Brick with a review that I honestly cannot believe I haven't done yet. This is of course, finally, BigKidBrix. Part of the reason why I haven't reviewed them yet is because I wasn't entirely certain what to say. Because the more I looked into it, the more negative this was going to be, and to be completely honest, I really do not like doing negative reviews of places. I know that to at least some degree, these videos do have an effect on the choices people make, at least in regards to where to buy customs from. This is why I look into several different aspects including customer service, and always try to make more than one purchase to see if I had a fluke or if the service really was like that. And that goes both ways. If my first order is great, I'm not just going to assume that all of them will be, and vice versa. If my first order is bad, I want to see if that was an accident or if that's how it normally goes. My first interaction and purchase from BigKidBrix was actually incredibly negative. I purchased this custom Commander Wolf, which I still need to look at, and several other figures as well. They were sold out on his website but still available on eBay, and I noticed that he had the or best offer option available. Seeing how I was buying like 5 or 6 different figures, I did make an offer for a lower amount. Nothing too extreme, but a lower amount nonetheless. BigKidBrix came back and just declined the offer, which is fine. So I counter-offered with an amount slightly closer to the original asking price, and BigKidBrix once again declined it, saying that they were not accepting offers at that time. Several things to keep in mind here. First, the prices on eBay are more expensive than the prices on his website, and second, he could have just told me that the first time. And third, actually, if you're not going to accept offers, you probably shouldn't include the option to begin with, because that did actually really upset me, way more than it reasonably should have, and I'm absolutely not going to deny that side, but like I said, if he had just told me the first time that he wasn't accepting offers, probably would have been more okay. Now I want to be clear here, my response to this was definitely more negative than it should have been and was not okay. But, and unfortunately I can't find the messages here, I do remember BigKidBrix responding equally as negatively and equally as rudely. Eventually though, we did come to an agreement. Since I was buying 4 figures of a certain type, he was going to give me 10% off on them. So I made that offer, which he then counter-offered for a different amount than we agreed on. I offered the 10% off like we had agreed, and then he changed that so I was paying more. At this point, I was kind of just done, and I purchased the figures, didn't really care. And obviously I'm not gonna lie here, the figures are nice. I've not really had any issues with them, with some notable exceptions that you probably already know but we'll go into. And again, I really want to emphasize that here because I am going to be talking about a lot of negative things here, but his minifigures, for the most part, are nice. But before we get into that, I did look into his negative and neutral reviews on eBay, and they do actually say a lot about him. On eBay, he only has 2 negative reviews, one from someone in Europe or England where they did not receive the package, and one where a guy got a package a month after the expected delivery date. If you notice, BKB responded to both of these. Starting with the second review first, you'll notice BKB doesn't actually respond to the criticism or review given. He doesn't say that this wasn't his responsibility, it wasn't his fault, or that it never actually happened. He just immediately blames the buyer. Sure, this guy might only be giving negative reviews, but if your product showed up a month after it should have, that's a valid reason. And if it didn't, you probably should have mentioned that instead of just blaming him. But that first review is really interesting. He does actually start off by giving a valid and proper response and answer. Any seller who has ever shipped anything will tell you that a customer will complain about the shipping process even though it's entirely outside of your control. Once I hand off a package to the postal office, I cannot control that at all. So yeah, telling this customer that it's just been sitting in London for whoever knows how long at this point does help show other potential buyers that, okay, it's not BKB's fault. But the problem is everything else that comes after that. immediately going in and saying it's your country and postal service you should be upset at, while not necessarily too bad because again it's true, is a little overly aggressive, and even more so when he continues on by then complaining about the seller and blaming them again. And when you go to the 3 neutral feedbacks from the last year, you get pretty much similar responses. One was a genuine mistake from BigKidBrix, which they only half admit to, and one was saying that they would have given a credit or exchange, but they never got contacted. Okay, first, it is would have, not would of. You are an adult, you should know the difference. Second, it really does seem to me, from my personal experience and from reading the reviews of these, that whenever BKB does make a mistake, he doesn't really want to take responsibility. He is very quick to put blame on other people and be very aggressive while doing so. But with that said, obviously there's not just negative reviews, and there is an overwhelming amount of positive reviews. And there is reason for that. Whether I purchase from his website or from his eBay page, he always ships out within 1 or 2 days, and it always arrives extremely quickly. For instance, if I order a figure on Monday, I will have it in my hand on Friday. They always come packaged very nicely, very securely. I've never had any of them come broken or anything like that. And like I said, you are getting pretty decent figures. If you've never purchased from BigKidBrix and you're watching this seeing if you should, then there are some things you should keep in mind. First, his figures are not 360 degree printed, they are only 180 degree printed, with some exceptions. Some of his figures are 360, but the majority are only 180, and second, he tends to include custom made parts, which is always really nice. Also, BKB does not just do Star Wars, he actually has a whole variety of figures to buy from, including Marvel, DC, G.I. Joe, Game of Thrones, Star Trek. He has horror, Harry Potter, Doctor Who, and a bunch of video games and movies, even musicians. The downside to this, of course, is that he does tend to be on the more expensive side of things. If you scroll through his Star Wars collection, for instance, you will see several figures on the higher price range, including like a $90 Duchess Satine. And while that is absolutely the exception, most of his figures are still priced over $30, around $35 to $40. Now, in other collections like his Marvel collection, those prices are lower, they're closer to $26, $25 by the looks of it, which might seem more accessible. But I want to remind you that from Clone Army Customs, you can get a full 360 degree printed clone with 2 weapons for $27, so when you're getting a figure that's only 180 degree printed with no weapons or anything some of the times, some people might think that the $26 asking point is still a little too much for what they're getting. Also, BigKidBrix uses products from other companies all the time, and he never gives them credit. For instance, here is his version of the 332nd clone with extremely minimal printing, might I add, where it clearly uses an Aerialite helmet, and yet in the description all he says is helmet made by other. I don't really see a reason not to credit the people that you're using products from. Here's another clone trooper where I believe this helmet is either Engineerio or Clone Army Customs, and again, not credited. And again, that's a little bit of a weird thing to do unless you're trying to hide something like the fact that you use non-LEGO pieces and don't want to disclose that. Yeah, if you've watched my videos on his Bad Batch, then you will know that all 4 of them use pieces from non-LEGO, or what some of you might incorrectly call Lepin companies. And yet, these are actually some of the more expensive figures in his lineup. And that's part of why it's taken me so long to even make this video, because while he has a ton of figures that I would love to get, he has a ton of custom Jedi and Sith specifically. Like, look at this Yarl Poof, it looks great. But is it $55 great? In my opinion, not really, especially since there's not much going on there. The custom head and the custom lightsaber are great, but for me, that is just way too expensive to even bother with. Maybe you think differently, and that's totally fine if you do. If you're seeing this and thinking $55 is perfectly fine, go for it, dude, I'm not gonna stop you. But for me personally, I have several concerns with every single purchase. Because think about it this way. If you go to someone who you know has lied about something in the past, you are always going to be cautious about future things they say. If BKB cannot be open or honest about where he is getting some of his parts from, it makes me question every single other product. If speaking with him has just been a negative and aggressive experience, then it makes me wonder if it's even worth it. Yes, his figures that I do buy tend to be fine, and they come very quickly. And for the most part, he does offer products that literally no one else does. So this is one that is just up to you. If you think that this is worth it or you think the prices are fine, then by all means go for it, because he does have some nice stuff. But personally, I do think that he really should be crediting the proper people, and the price tag on some of these items really are a little too high. But as always, I am interested in hearing what your thoughts are and what your experiences are. Putting them in the comments down below is a great way for other people to make their own decisions on where to buy from. And if you like this video, then make sure you hit that like button and remember to subscribe to see future videos. Ringing that bell helps too. A huge thank you to all of my patrons who help make these videos possible. Signing up goes a long way towards helping out this channel, and you might even get shoutouts like Jonathan and Project Elements. Thank you all so much for watching, and I will see you next time.